I'm Pete Jefferson, and this short talk is about one of my favorite subjects, UFOs. UFO. The phrase brings up images of aliens from other worlds flying around our world, teasing us with displays of speed and flight patterns most would believe impossible. Fact is, the phrase UFO encompasses any flying object that can't be identified. All UFOs aren't what you'd call flying saucers. But if you tell me or your friends that you saw a UFO, we would assume that you're speaking of alien spacecraft that we call flying saucers. I don't want to get hung up on semantics here, so we'll leave it at that. My interest in UFO dates to junior high way back into the 50s. I can't tell you what triggered the interest, but I checked out all the books from the library and read all I could on the subject. Major Donald Kehoe's book, Flying Saucers Are Real, was the Bible back in 1958. Google him and watch the 1958 interview with Mike Wallace. There wasn't a whole lot of data for public consumption at that time. Sometime during my 15th or 16th year, I saw my first UFO, which pretty much cemented my beliefs. That happened in Roanoke, Virginia, and all the local papers said about it was that the Air Force said that it was a weather balloon. Well, there was two of them. One went south and one went northeast at a very high rate of speed before it disappeared. Weather balloons don't move like that. What are they? If they're from other star systems, they certainly have come a long way to tease us as they travel through normal space. My thoughts are that they travel through time warps or slips or parallel dimensions, or perhaps through time or some other way we haven't thought of yet. As millions of people have seen so many types of disk over the years, I would suggest that there are huge numbers of intelligent beings out there who travel space lanes much as we travel the interstates to get places. Earth would be a quaint little stopping off place to take a break and have a star burger at the drive-through on the back side of the moon. A mildly entertaining diversion for folks while traveling across the galaxy. The occasional UFO crash is probably caused by a teen from Alpha Centauri who's not watching his speed. Perhaps the Mars moon Phobos is also an interstellar hotel. An interesting little note about Phobos is that in the early 1950s there was a high-ranking military officer who wrote a memo to President Eisenhower stating that we needed to be prepared for an alien invasion. And that was a good possibility that the invasion would be launched from the Mars moon Phobos. Great insight for the 50s when we knew nothing about Mars and its moons except what light points we could see with a telescope. Now with the current close-up pictures of Phobos and the monolith on a smooth side of the moon, others are talking about it being a base, or in some cases a large ancient spaceship. You have to wonder though where the gentleman from the 50s got his information. What would put him on that track? Did our government know even more then than we think they knew? He wouldn't have hit on Phobos without some data. Over the many thousands of years of study, they may have gone so far as to manipulate the gene pool a bit to see what happens. Humans have much more junk DNA than other animals. Ever wonder where that junk came from? E.T. may have caused it as they changed things. Maybe it's a real game to them, much as video games we play on our computers, except on a slightly larger scale. I wonder who's keeping score. One thing I have serious doubts about is the abduction claims. Not that there aren't a couple of very good claims out there. Study up on fire in the sky. But the people who turn me off immediately are the yahoos from Podunk, Kansas, who have claimed to have been abducted and given some great wisdom about our world and how bad we are treating it. We must stop pollution. We must stop killing each other. Yada, yada, yada. Other than yanking our chain a bit, it doesn't make sense that aliens would pick someone up at random on the planet and give them a message that no one else is going to listen to. Picking someone up for study and nothing more seems to me to make more sense. We do that with animals all the time. There is an enormous body of evidence out there from very good researchers on the subject for you to read. Google UFOs or go to Amazon and search and see how much pops up. There's lots of good stuff and more of the crazies out there, which makes it all the more fun to explore. Take it all with a grain of salt. When you're up all night with a bout of insomnia, tune in to Coast AM radio and hear some great talk radio. They also have a very active website with links to all sorts of information on Coast to Coast. That's the short view of UFOs for an average person. We'll see you again on the next video.